Hey guys, it's Deadthil here once again, and today I'm going to take you through the journey of the hardcore solo self-found Ice Shot Raider, who did end up hitting level 85, and much like the rest of my characters, he had the unfortunate fate of being played by me. Meaning there is a death clip involved in this video. I did hit level 85, and that is when I ended up dying. That'll be just a little bit later. For now, I do want to show you what the character looked like as a strictly solo self-found character, and on the hardcore league, which is quite different to when I first introduced this character, which was on softcore, with a variety of good items. Now, I never really achieved a 6-link on this build, but neither did I on the original build, and it is a pretty big drawback not having a 6-link for either of your AoE or clear skills, and in this case that is Ice Shot and Barrage, but we did make it work on the first character and a 5-link was just fine. The real big problem is I barely have any damage happening from almost any of my jewelry and don't really have any jewels. And then the bow itself, I was lucky enough to find Lion Eye's Glare, which is good for solo self-found and a good bow, but without other terribly impressive gear, it does have a really low amount of crit, and it did feel kind of average to be played a lot of the time when I did not have a lot of crit. With the Lion Eye's bow, if I had a 6-link, maybe then I could have a lot better crit and feel a lot better, but only on a 5-link with the gear I had available to me, it just had too low of a crit to be truly good consistently in the, well, for the most part, single target category. Because when you did crit with your barrage, it felt really good. When you didn't, and you could go on a few hot streaks there, it felt pretty average. Overall, I had something like 29% crit unbuffed, and then about 45 including Diamond Flask, and that isn't too bad, but it really isn't amazing. And you can see the character was clearing pretty damn well. Overall, did just then finish my Uber Lab, and then also jumped into a few Atsiri runs, and all of that on hardcore is pretty scary for me, but it all went rather uneventfully. It was well enough to be able to take on this level of content, because it is still some fairly old content, and my gear wasn't that bad, or my level at this point wasn't that bad for some Atsiri action. So it really was pretty smooth, and the character was starting to ramp. But I do kind of underestimate what I'm doing when I'm doing it during these hardcore things, and I probably do more than I should, including just these pretty insane Beyond maps. Although it is only tier 6, it's really nothing too crazy. The problem is, you are playing a Raider, and they are not the best defensive characters for the hardcore experience, especially on the solo self-found experience. If I could have just had a bit better gear, had a Belly of the Beast, I'd feel a lot more confident going into this stuff, but otherwise it is a very big struggle. As a Raider, as a bow character, you will struggle to find too many people playing them these days on the hardcore solo self-found ladders, but I wanted to do it anyway because I did enjoy this character and I wanted to revisit him and see just how much worse it is with the self-found experience. And it is worse, and it is a lot harder to level up and get going until you have good gear. It is a pretty big struggle because bow characters are notoriously in need of gear to feel good. And I did get to that level, and it was feeling pretty good until we came across these double bosses over here. So I just completely whiffed on them over and over, and ended up wasting all my flasks and didn't feel safe right there because they just kept flickering around me. Decided to portal out, reset flasks, and come back in. Nothing too dangerous of a map mod on this map, just, you know, 2 Cretans. I move and instantly died. It was pretty devastating because I just basically ramped up my character to be what I thought was pretty damn acceptable in this mapping context, and I was pretty close to the top 10 for Raiders. Decided I would start to try to push, do a lot of maps and all that, and then we get destroyed. So what actually happened here as far as the analysis is concerned is I zone back in, my golem is still active, and Cretan over here starts winding up his Blade Flurry against my golem. He gets 6 stacks. As soon as I move, I get wrecked by all 6 stacks of that Blade Flurry because I wasn't really paying attention to what he was doing, and I didn't expect that to happen. I thought I'd dive back in, run away as far as I could with all of my flasks up, and it should be clean, smooth sailing from there after I kill one of the Cretans and then take on the other one. However, Golem baited me in with those 6 stacks, and the map did have 40% less dodge chance, or 40% monster accuracy and dodge chance is unlucky, which happens to be all of my defense, so I did get wrecked, and it was sad. And that is the end of that, and I do want to just go over the character real quick for you in case you're following it along or doing something similar. So to start with, I will cover what gear I was using. Basically all of this, of course, as I said, solo self-found. It is what I had available to me. Tried to use currency where I could to upgrade my character. At level 85, the stats were there for defenses, and I was running Lionized Glare, which I originally suggested in the original build, because it is very solid of an option for the budget that it's on, and it's probably just a bit worse than Death's Opus overall at the complete end game. Though for the early game, I do really like Death's Opus a lot more because it gives you a lot more crit to start with, as well as that the 2 additional proj for Barrage makes your Barrage just a lot stronger to begin with. Besides that, there's nothing else too special. I grabbed a Assassin's Garb, just put a bunch of currency into it. This is the best thing that came out. And then 5 linked it. Just found a Star Conjure like yesterday. Found pretty much nothing else actually to really even mention. Crafted an amulet with some life, because that's what I needed. Just a life resist ring, life resists a little bit of int, life resists LE damage with attacks, life resists a little bit of movement speed, and then it took me forever to even like get this quiver, which is a piece of shit. So it was real struggle with the quivers, and that is something that could definitely be improved on the gear scale. I did just then get Incendiary Flask, which is a big deal for the character, and felt really good when I did get it on. It really did change the character's sort of damage and progression. And as well as that, my Uber Lab, which I just finished at like level 85 or 84 or something, was a big deal as well, because that's when I got Avatar of the Veil. A lot of increased elemental damage there, 24% increased movement speed from here, and then we're immune to status ailments, meaning I no longer need a Freeze Flask, and that freed up to grab a Curse Flask on the Stib Knight, and meant I could also use its Series Flask without too many hassles. Now besides that, I will just talk about the links real quick. They're pretty much the same from the previous character, just running Hatred and then Herald of Ice attached to Curse on Hit, Assassin's Mark and Onslaught. And my 5 links for the skills are pretty much the same thing, but for Barrage we're running Ice Bite, Added Cold, LE Damage, and Hypothermia. Now, Hypothermia is probably going to be less damage than, say, a GMP in this setup, but I really did value the crit and hitting harder, or the crit with the cold and hitting harder with the cold. I valued that more because I wanted to freeze things more reliably, and just a lot stronger of a freeze with this setup than with the GMP setup. You'd have much jankier freezes. And then on the Ice Shot side of things, I went Ice Shot, LE damage with attacks, GMP, Ice Bite, and Chain eventually. A long time you do run Pierce or the Threshold Jewel, and it's not until, you know, maybe map level or even higher that you start to have good enough damage that Chain is justified. So play around with it yourself when you are playing around with it. Ice Shot really doesn't feel too good with Chain until you have good damage and good gear for that to carry. Until then, Pierce is just fine. You will have worse clear speed overall, but it will feel better because you won't be shooting as many times into a pack. So this will, you know, Chain clears and bounces around a lot and doesn't leave as many stragglers. Pierce hits a lot harder, or just the Threshold Jewel, I should say, hits a lot harder. Now besides that, the original character I made didn't use a Lionized Fall Jewel because it wasn't strictly necessary and it cost a lot at the time. I did get one from Kadira, and that means I did use it to try and get some claw nodes over here converted. Really not that important, as I proved with the previous videos, but it does save you just a few points over here and reroute your passive tree a bit, and overall it should be a small damage gain, but for my character that's not really going to matter too much overall. I'll show you the quick tooltips if you're interested in those. We do have 12.3 on Ice Shot with the 5 link, that's with the 5 link and Chain, and for Barrage 12.5k tooltip. but that is, of course, without any of the buffs or the frenzies or anything. Looking at the buffs, if we're fully buffed up, 440k barrage, and then against Shaper type bosses, 260k, that's something like a fifth, I think, of what my actual character was doing when he was fully ramped up without the 6th link or anything too crazy, just strong gear and a Death's Opus, as well as the Dying Sun. So gear is definitely a pretty big factor for this character, as well as ironing out all the kinks, and there's just no opportunity to do that on solo self-found hardcore, and it is pretty hard as a bow character in bow life in the sort of crap gear community and the hardcore lifestyle. Because getting much more life than this, I could probably hit 6k by level 90 with a Belly of the Beast, and that's okay, but it'd probably still be fairly sketchy at times, and I'm not sure I can truly tell you to go out there and do it as hardcore solo self-found ever again, because it was a bit of a struggle. On hardcore, I think you can definitely tailor make this character for more hardcore experiences, but it's pretty damn hard without a established base of currency. I'd say that's about all I need to convey to you guys with this character. It was a lot of fun, even on the hardcore solo self-found. Did hit level 85. I was going to start pushing towards 90, doing these maps really fast and all that, because the clear speed was really good and the character felt pretty damn good to play, but then I, died over there, as you just saw. That was pretty sad, and I am moving on to the next character, which is a Pathfinder, Namahu's something. We're still figuring that out, because Pathfinder on hardcore solo self-found is currently the lowest top 5 or so for character levels, I think. So if I have a chance of winning a demi there, then that's what I have to do for the next few days, and maybe that means I'll grind a lot more Path of Exile if it looks promising and if I don't die again. It will be the last one for Turmoil though. Mayhem will be right around the corner, and that should be very fun as well. Maybe I'll do some hardcore action there. Haven't really decided, but for now, I'd say that's it for this video, guys. Look forward to the Pathfinder one with probably a rip video attached to it, because let's be honest, yeah, you know it's coming. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time.